First of all, take this down in your camera and after that I will explain. The last two classes we did galvanometer, then conversion of galvanometer into ammeter, and then conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter, and then to ohm meter. Now, because in all three type of meters, the common device that is used to display the values is the galvanometer. So what we can do is we can combine all three meters into one meter. Now what we can do is we can combine all three meters into a single meter. So I have drawn the diagram here. What is shown in the yellow is the galvanometer arrangement with the dials. Then we have what is shown in the blue is the voltmeter modification, and then what is shown in red is the ammeter modification, and then what is in brown is the ohm meter. Now I will try to explain it. Now we know that when you convert the ammeter into galvanometer into an ammeter, we have to use a shunt. A shunt is to bypass the additional current without going through the meter. So we will have different ranges, 0 to, when you directly connect the dial, we have three selectors here, right? Selector XYZ. The Y is the one corresponding to ammeter. Now if you connect the Y selector to this position, then it is a direct connection so that the galvanometer can directly read the milliamperage, right? And after that we use shunt resistors, right, to reduce the current through the meter. Sorry, I made a small mistake. Can you take this down now? Again, because for measuring milliampere range, we don't use a shunt, so it should directly go, right? Therefore, we use a open circuit connection. This is an open circuit point. If you connect it to this point, there is no shunt connection, right? So take the picture again. Okay, so if you connect it to this open circuit position, right? So you can directly measure. I mean, there is no shunt, so you can directly measure in milliampere range. Then if you connect it to these ranges, you can measure 0 to 1, 0 to 10, 0 to 100. So that is the Y selector, right? Now when Y selector is selected, the part here, the meter should be directly connected here. So we have to connect the X selector to short circuit, right? So you connect it to short circuit. Now I will indicate it. The short circuit position is used for ammeter and ohm meter. I will explain the ohm meter later. Right? So for measuring ammeter and ohm meter, we have to put it here. Right? And also for this range. Okay. So this is okay. Now in the voltmeter circuit, now we know that for voltmeter we always connect the resistors in series with the galvanometer. So these are series resistors. So but if you want to directly measure up to 2 volts, you can use it directly. So this X selector connected to this short circuit position means you can directly measure voltages up to 2 volts. Right? So we have covered ammeter and voltmeter modification with one galvanometer. Right? So when you measure voltages, your Y selector should be at this open circuit position. Okay? Open circuit position. Then now all this time your Z selector is at this position, that is for voltage and current. But if you want to measure resistances, we know that we have this galvanometer and we use a series resistor. Now earlier I just put that series resistor on the other side, but now it's all the same, right? So I put the series resistor here and the source here, voltage source. So if you change the selector to this position, right? Then you can, and also while changing that to this position, the X selector should be at short circuit and Y selector should be at open circuit, right? Then you can measure use it as an ohm meter. Now for voltmeter, P1 and P2 will be the terminals. That is where you use you connect the circuit. But for ohm meter, P3 and P1 will be used as the terminals, right? So this is P3 acts as common for all, but here for ampere and current and voltage we use for P2, and for ohm meter we use for P3. So we can summarize in a bit of a third table form how we can use it. I erase this portion. And also now I have marked the voltage scale, current scale and ohm scale here. So corresponding scale should be used. But I have shown only one scale. For voltage and current, you will have multiple scales because we have multiple ranges here. So you might have multiple, scales. So from this diagram, we will try to put a table for current, terminals P1 and P2, right? Then X selector at short circuit, Y selector at as required, and Z selector at B and E. Right? Now you can measure required range. Then for voltage measurements, terminals are the same, P1 and P2. X selector, required range, Y selector should be at open circuit, and Z selector should be at VA. So for resistance, terminals P1 and P3, X selector at short circuit, Y selector open circuit, and Z selector is at home. Okay. So those are the settings. You can make a copy. So this is the basic arrangement of a multimeter, but the actual multimeter might be a little bit complicated than this. But principally they are working in the same way, right? So we have circuits for ampere ranges, then we have circuits for voltage ranges, and then we have circuits for even sometimes you may have multiple ranges for ohm also, right? But you have to make note that in a multimeter you can see clearly the ammeter and voltmeter dials will be linear, right? Whereas the ohm meter dial will be non-linear. So that is most important, because sometimes they might ask you structure questions or MCQs about this linear and non-linear nature. That was about galvanometer based measurements. Now we are going to move to bridge based measurements. Now we will first discuss why we need to go for bridges. The galvanometer based measurements prone to error due to finite current required for driving the galvanometer. So this current is going to actually load the measuring circuit. That creates the error, right? Leads to error. And also you can recover in ohm meter the measurement is dependent on the voltage of the cell, right? You take ohm meter, depends on voltage of cell, right? But in a bridge based measurement, usually we balance the bridge, and at the time of taking the measurement, the current through the galvanometer, still we use a galvanometer, but it is not for measuring the parameter, but to balance the circuit. So once the circuit is balanced, there will be no current through the galvanometer. So the galvanometer is not going to affect our measurement, right? So we'll see how we are doing it. Take a shot. We'll first look at recent bridge. This is proposed by Easton. So this is the basis for all the other meters. So first I will draw the Easton bridge. So Easton bridge will consist of 4 elements. Resistors in a bridge fashion, and there will be a supply, and we use a galvanometer. Say assume so here the PQR resistance boxes. Out of it, R is we always vary, but P and Q are normally fixed. Then we have X, that is the unknown resistor. So we have to measure or calculate find the unknown resistor. So we have to find the equation for the bridge balance condition. Now I will try to explain the working principle. So we have this EMF, electromotive force, So when you connect this, assume initially there is no connection here. So the current will get divided. Say this I1 in this branch, here I2, the total is I, is getting divided into I1 and I2. So I1 will flow through this part here, I1, then I2 will flow through this part. So again I1 and I2 is I. Now these two resistors are fixed and this is variable and this is the unknown resistor. When you now we don't know we have these values. These are P and Q are known values and this also variable, but we can still give the value. We don't know the value of X. Now what we have to do is, now when there is a current flowing here, say we assume this is A, point A and B. Between A and B, the electromotive voltage will be applied, right? VAB is equal to E. Whether it's going through this path or this path, VAB is E, right? So we can say VAB equal E equal, I have not connected here, I1P so I1 P plus R, VAB also equal to I2 Q plus X, right? Now, but the midpoint, these two midpoints, we don't know the voltages because X is unknown, right? So we don't know the voltage difference. Now when you connect these here, the potential here and the potential here are different initially, we don't know, right? Because the voltage VAB will be divided between P and R, right, here in this part, and between Q1 X in this part. Because initially we are not balanced the circuit, therefore voltage across R, voltage across X will not be the same. Voltage across P and voltage across Q will not be the same, right? Therefore, this point, the middle point voltage, we don't know whether it's same or not. So we connect the galvanometer, right? Then galvanometer, if the voltages are different, the voltages here and voltage here are different, right? The voltage difference will lead a current through galvanometer, right? Now, after connecting the galvanometer, you keep changing the R, right? Because X unknown, you change the R so that when at one point the galvanometer reading will become 0. Understand? So these two doesn't need to be the same, it can be different, right? But still, when you change P at some point, right, the galvanometer reading will be 0. That is called the balance point, right? Balance point. At the balance point, then, if you say this is say A, B, C, D, right? At the balance point, BC equal BD. Unless BC equal, that is the potential with respect to earth, right, somewhere, reference, VC equal to VD, there will be no current as long as VC equal to VD. So the balancing process, we always change R, right, so that the galvanometer reading becomes 0. That is called balance point. Once a balance point is received, right, you don't change anything, you just leave it like that. Now because VC equal to VD, what you can say here, VAC equal VAD, right? This point, common point, these two are same potential, right? Unless it is same potential, there will be current. That's no current means these two are the same potential. Therefore, VA is a common point, VAC equal VAD. Likewise, we can say VCD equal VDB. Okay. So this is at balance condition. Now we can write VAC. What is VAC? VAC I1P VAD I2Q. Now because these two are same, we can write I1P equal I2Q. So I1 over I2 equal Q upon Q. So this is one derivation method. Then for the next one, VCB equal I1R VDB equal I2X. So from these two equating we can find I1R equal I2X, I1 over I2 equal X over R. This is equation 2. So if you equate 1 and 2, because I1 over I2, right, from 1 and 2, you can write Q over P is equal to X over R. So we can, for simplicity, we can write, turn it other way around, P over Q equal R over X. P over Q is R over X. Or we can also rearrange this, P over R equal Q over X. P over R equal Q over X. Sorry, Q over X. Either way it's okay. So at balance condition, we can straightaway write P over Q equal R over X or P over R equal Q over X. So this is the balance condition equation for this bridge. So this is before connecting okay, this is also 210. Now the only unknown value here is x, right? Since P, Q are known, resistance box, we can calculate x unknown. Take it down. So this principle of Wiesenbridge is very important, because you might get this in MCQ as well as up towards the questions. But what I say is, now there are certain questions in calculating say equivalent resistance, right? So we can use this Wiesenbridge principle, where at the balance condition, if there is no current, right, this point and this point are same potential, right? We can extend this technique to solve some equivalent resistance problems, because when 2 points are the same potential, it is something like we connecting them together. Okay, when 2 points are at the same potential, even if you connect these two together, it is not going to change the circuit parameters, right? It is something like a short circuit. Only at equal points, right? Equal potential point, the voltage is same. So you can always short circuit at balance condition. Even if you short circuit, it is not going to change the condition of the circuit. So we can extend this Wiesenbridge principle to solve some problems. I will show you later. Right? So take a good note of this. No, it's not infinite resistance, it's like a short circuit. No, don't confuse with the galvanometer. The galvanometer is only an indicator here. The galvanometer says if there is no deflection in the galvanometer, that means the galvanometer is connected to the same potential points. Right? So I'll do a simple, I'll show you a simple example. Right? I don't remember the question. I'll try to do a question there. Right? When at least I'll find a question. There are questions where in a circuit, when you are supposed to calculate the equivalent resistances, right? You might come across a condition where this point and this point are at the same potential, right? So if you get to know that these two at the same potential, you can just draw a short circuit here. It is not that galvanometer is short circuiting or open circuiting. Galvanometer is there to indicate these points are at the same potential. So if 2 points are at the same potential in any circuit, they are supposed to be a single point. You can assume it as a single point, because even if you short circuit, the circuit conditions will not change. Right? So we use that advantage to calculate the equivalent resistance. Now, once you say these two are connected, then these two are parallel, you can straight away calculate the equivalent resistance. But it's only a simple example, but I'm not, this is not a good example, I'll show you example later, right? But don't confuse, galvanometer is not short circuiting, right, or open circuiting. We say that those 2 points are the equal potential. So if they are equal potential, we can, even if you short circuit, the circuit conditions will not change it. Right? Circuit conditions will not be changed because they are the same potential. Same potential means same point. That is the idea, right? Maybe it's not the same point, but even we can use it as we can consider that as the same point, right? So you can only understand when you do the example. I will give it later. Okay. Now meter bridge. Meter bridge is actually the extension of Wheatstone bridge. And we know that in a Wheatstone bridge, we need to use 3 resistors, non-resistors, and these 3 resistors. The problem with variable one is that if you use a resistance box, the resistance box values are some in discrete values, right? So if you need something in between, you can't get it, right? So sometimes it becomes very difficult to balance the Wheatstone bridge, because if the balance condition comes between 2 discrete values, you can't balance it easily. So to solve that problem, we can use meter bridge. It is also called slide wire bridge. Slide wire. Bridge. We are using a slide wire, right? So to continuously change the balance position. Right? So I will draw the diagram first. Take this one. Okay, now I'll explain. Now this is basically a Wheatstone bridge, right? But only difference is we have only one fixed resistor here, right, on the resistance box, and we have a 1 meter long resistance wire with a marking. We have marking here. Now this resistance, now we have 3 portions here, metal portions, thick metal portions, that is actually functioning as a connecting wires, but they are very thick to reduce the resistance, right? So now if you look at this, it is something like a Wheatstone bridge now. Now you have the supply, then one arm you have this X, the other arm you have R, then you have the galvanometer here, right? Then AC acts as one portion of the resistor and CB acts as other portion of the resistor. So here, now the ratio between AC and CB can be changed because this slider is continuously slidable, right? By sliding, you can continuously change the resistance of AC and CB, right? So what happens? Now because this is 1 meter, if you calculate in centimeters, right? If L1 is, if this AC is L1, then L2 is 100 minus L1 centimeter, right? Because 1 meter equal to 100 centimeter. So L2 is 100 minus L1, or L1 is 100 minus L2, right? So now it is something like now a bridge. This is bridge, and you have the galvanometer here, and this is X, this is R, and this is L1, this is L2. Now the whole resistance wire AB, if AB has a resistance, then that resistance is divided by 100 centimeters, right? So you can define a parameter for AB, that is R, right? We call it resistance per unit length. Okay, if R is a resistance per unit length, that is, say, if we say 1 centimeter is R or something like that, then this is what is the scale of this resistance per unit length? It can be ohm per centimeter, right? Something like ohm per centimeter, ohm per centimeter. So if you multiply this resistance per unit length, ohm per centimeter, by the length, you should get the resistance of AC. If you multiply R by L2, you should get the resistance of CB, right? So you can write the equation here. XO, so this is RL1 is a resistance on this arm, RL2 is a resistance on the other arm. So at balance condition we can write balance condition. How do you get the balance here? How do you get the balance here? There in the recent bridge we were changing the R, variable resistor R, until the galvanometer becomes 0, right? So here instead of changing R, we slide S. So when you slide S, when the ratio between X upon RL1 equal R upon RL2, right? Or X upon R equal to RL upon RL1 upon RL2, the balance condition is okay, right? So at that point, so until that point, that balance condition is received, you slide the S. So as you slide, at some point you will get galvanometer reading 0. So when galvanometer reading becomes 0, it is something like a balanced Wheatstone bridge. So you can write X upon R equal RL1 upon RL2. Now you can see R, you can cut. So that means even without knowing R, you can always write the balance condition. So X over R equal L1 over L2. So what is the X unknown resistor? L1 over L2 into R. R is known. L1, L2 you can measure because you are using a meter scale here, right? So you can calculate. If you calculate L1, L2 is 100 minus L1, right? So you can substitute for L1 over L2 and find X, right? So this is even easier than the Wiesen bridge because it is continuously variable. The slider is continuously variable. Whereas in the Wiesen bridge we have to use a resistance box. You may not exactly balance with the resistance box because there are discrete values. Here it's a continuously variable values, right? So from here you can say here RAC is RL1, RCB equal RL2. So that means that is proportional to L1. This is proportional to L2. Okay. Take a step. Now, actually, this is more accurate than the Wiesen bridge because it is continuously variable. But see, there are even other precautions you can take, even more precautions you can take to further reduce the errors, right? Measurement errors. One is that the balance condition. Now you have to select. Now when you change x upon r, now you can, from this equation you can see x upon r equal to the ratio between x and r is equal to L1 over L2. So that means if you want to bring the balance condition somewhere in the middle, right, the value of r should be approximately equal to x. Now x is unknown, you know that, unknown, but still you should have some idea, right? You should have some idea, say about its range. Say for example, whether it's in ohm range, kilo ohm range, or mega ohm range. All that you should know. So if it is 100 ohm range or 1000 ohm range or 10 ohm range, right? So likewise you should have some idea. Then you can select X. Now why I say this is because it is always better to bring the balance condition in the middle third. That means if you divide AB into 3 portions, right? Your balance condition should fall somewhere between the middle third. Right? That is more accurate. If your balance condition comes to either this side, close to A or closer to B, there is a measurement error. You know why? Because although these metal plates, thick metal plates made of copper or brass, they are supposed to be smaller resistance. There will be some finite resistance in that. You can't avoid it because there is connection resistance. When you properly, if you don't connect it properly, there will be resistance here, right? So if you bring the balance point somewhere closer to here or to this side, your length L1 will be smaller. So R L1 will be smaller. So that will be comparable to the resistance of this metal plate. Right? Then in that situation, you can't neglect the resistance of these metal plate or connections. Right? So that is why you should always bring the balance condition in the middle third. Right? If you divide by 3 portions, in the middle third, you should get the balance point. Right? Then, if there is a error or connection errors on either side, you can avoid that, or you can check it by whether you get the similar balance condition when you interchange X and R, right, you connect X here and R here and then balance it and then calculate, right? So the previous, now if you interchange, the balance condition now changes now, right? Because R is on this side, X is on this side. So X is on that side, R is on this side. So the balance point will be changing, but still you should get the same results, right? Even if the balance point is changed, the L1 and L2 will change, but still you should get the same value for X, right? So you can check by interchanging whether you are getting the same results. So likewise you can also change the battery terminals, right? Battery terminals, so E can be changed to the other side, positive and negative, and then when you change the so you can again balance it and see whether you get that reading. Then the other important point is, now we have shown the galvanometer as directly connected to the slider, right? Now what happens is, if initially we don't know where the balance condition is going to be, right? So when your slider is far away from the actual balance condition, right, there could be a very large current that is going through galvanometer. That depends on the supply voltage, right? If your balance condition, if your slider is initially kept at a position which is far from the balance condition, it might damage the galvanometer. So to protect the galvanometer, right, or if you use a very sensitive galvanometer. Now for example, to safeguard that, you can use a less sensitive galvanometer. That means it can withstand higher current or voltage. But with the less sensitive galvanometer, it is very difficult to balance, right? When you slide, it will jump on this side or jump on the other side. So it is very difficult to bring it to zero. So usually what you do is, instead of that, you use a sensitive galvanometer with a protection, right? So that protection will be something like this. Connected in series, then it goes to slider, right? Then initially the high resistance will not allow high current to flow through the galvanometer, right? So you, with that, you achieve a rough balance. So you bring it to a rough balance position. So once you bring it to the rough balance position, the current will be less. Then you want to amplify it and see, right, whether it is very sharply balanced. So to do that, you use another, what is this, key, right? So you plug the key J, you plug the key, then it will be short circuit. So the galvanometer will be directly connected because the galvanometer is not sensitive. Now earlier it might show like roughly balanced, right? But now when you remove the HR or short circuit HR by K, the galvanometer is directly connected, so it will get more current, then it will show exactly whether it's balanced or not. Then again you can fine balance it, right? So initially we do a coarse balance or rough balance with the K open, right? Then once the rough balance is achieved, you close K so that you get more sensitivity. Then you can exactly or finely balance the bridge, right? So that is one more technique to reduce the errors. So with the meter bridge, the most accurate reading that you can get is in the range of 1 ohm. So the smallest resistance that is measurable is 1 ohm. So take a snap.